Right now, as you're watching this, someone in your life is wearing a mask. Maybe it's your closest friend, your romantic partner, or that colleague you thought you could trust. They seem genuine, put together, authentic, but something deep in your gut whispers that there's more beneath the surface. That uncomfortable feeling? It's your intuition recognizing what Carl Jung spent decades proving. No one can hide their true character forever. You see, Jung discovered something that will fundamentally change how you see people. 2 psychological patterns that slip through even the most carefully constructed facades. And once you understand these reveals, you'll never be fooled by a false persona again. But here's what makes this discovery so unsettling. These same patterns expose your hidden nature too. Picture this moment. You're sitting across from someone you thought you knew completely. They're telling you about their day, their dreams, their frustrations. Everything seems normal, genuine even. But Jung would tell you that you're only seeing what he called the performance layer. The carefully orchestrated show we all put on for the world. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And these 2 psychological windows will force you to confront parts of yourself you've been desperately avoiding. Most people believe they can judge character through surface behaviors. They look for confidence, kindness, success, charisma, all the shiny badges of social acceptability. But Jung understood something profound. These are all part of what I call the performance layer. The real person, the authentic soul, lives beneath this elaborate theater. Here's what makes Jung's discovery so brilliant. No matter how skilled someone becomes at managing their image, 2 specific psychological patterns will always betray their authentic nature. These patterns operate outside conscious control, which is exactly why they're so devastatingly reliable. Jung wrote, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. But judgment based on surface appearances is almost always catastrophically wrong. True character assessment requires diving into the unconscious patterns that people can't fake, can't manipulate, and can't control." Jung's first character reveal cuts straight to the bone. Discover someone's true nature by observing who they judge most harshly. When someone criticizes another person with unusual intensity, they're not making an observation. They're projecting their own disowned traits onto that person. What we hate most in others is often what we've buried deepest in ourselves. Jung called this projection. And the stronger the emotional reaction, the closer you're getting to their shadow. Let me paint you a picture. Meet David, a successful architect who prides himself on integrity. At every office meeting, David tears into his colleague Marcus, calling him fake and manipulative. David's voice turns razor sharp when Marcus charms clients. His jaw clenches when Marcus receives praise. But here's what Jung would see. David's volcanic reaction to Marcus isn't about Marcus at all. It's about a part of David that he's violently rejected. Deep down, David wishes he could be more charming, more socially gifted. But he's buried this desire because he believes it would make him inauthentic. Jung wrote, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate. It oppresses." David's condemnation of Marcus is actually brutal self-oppression, rejecting a part of himself that could serve him beautifully. This is why shadow mapping works with surgical precision. When someone judges others with disproportionate intensity, they're always confessing their own internal wars. The traits they attack most viciously are often the ones they've exiled to their unconscious. But shadow projection isn't always negative. Jung discovered we also project positive qualities we're terrified to claim. When someone consistently puts others on pedestals, calling them so talented or so confident, they're often projecting abilities they possess but refuse to acknowledge in themselves. The key? Watch for emotional intensity. When someone's reaction to another person feels disproportionate, whether seething hatred or breathless admiration, you're witnessing their shadow in full display. If you've ever caught yourself judging someone and realized it revealed something about your own hidden struggles, drop a comment below saying, "I see my shadow in my judgments." Let's build awareness together. Jung's second reveal is even more revealing. Observe how someone behaves when their carefully constructed image is threatened. Jung wrote, The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but most people spend enormous energy maintaining who they think they should be. This maintenance requires constant vigilance. And when someone's persona is challenged, when their mask slips or their competence is questioned, their authentic character erupts in that moment of raw vulnerability. Here's how to spot it. Watch what happens when someone faces unexpected criticism, when their expertise is questioned, or when they're caught in a mistake. Do they become defensive? Launch counterattacks? Deflect blame? Or do they pause, breathe, and respond with genuine authenticity? Let me show you this with Sarah's story. Sarah built her entire professional identity as the unflappable marketing director, the person who never loses composure under fire. But during a high-stakes client meeting, the client savagely criticized her team's strategy, questioning Sarah's judgment directly. In that electric moment, Sarah's persona didn't just crack, it shattered. Her voice turned ice cold. Her posture became rigid as steel. She interrupted the client mid-sentence, threw her team under the bus, and made cutting remarks about the client's past decisions. The calm professional vanished, revealing someone defensive, insecure, and willing to sacrifice others to protect her carefully crafted image. Jung would say this single moment revealed Sarah's authentic character more clearly than years of polished professional interaction. Under pressure, when her meticulously maintained image was under assault, her true patterns exploded to the surface. But here's where this becomes devastatingly powerful. These persona breakdowns don't just happen during major crises. They occur in tiny moments throughout everyday life. When someone's phone dies and they can't check social media, when they're kept waiting longer than expected, when nobody laughs at their joke. Watch for micro-expressions, tone shifts, body language changes. These microscopic moments when the mask slips reveal more about someone's soul than hours of casual conversation ever could. The most psychologically integrated people, those Jung called individuated, show consistency between their public persona and their private reactions. Their image and authentic self align because they've done the courageous work of accepting themselves completely. Think about someone in your life whose mask has slipped under pressure. What did that moment reveal? Share your insights in the comments below, and let's learn from each other's experiences. Beyond Jung's two primary reveals lies a third pattern that emerges when you combine them: the integration test. This observes how someone handles their own shadow material when it's reflected back to them. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Here's how it works. When you notice someone projecting their shadow onto others, gently reflect it back, not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. I noticed you seem really bothered by people who show off. Have you ever felt like you wanted to show off but held yourself back? This moment reveals more about their character than months of observation, because it tests their relationship with their own unconscious material. Remember David, who judges Marcus for being fake? When asked if he ever wishes he could be more socially skilled, David might respond in one of two ways. Response 1. The defensive pattern. Are you saying I'm fake like Marcus? That's ridiculous. I'm authentic, unlike him. I don't need to manipulate people to get ahead. This response shows David is fortified against his shadow. His character is rigid, his growth potential suffocated by his inability to acknowledge his own complexity. Response 2. The integrative pattern. Actually, yeah, sometimes I do wish I was better with people. I admire Marcus's social skills, even though his approach bothers me. Maybe I'm jealous of something I wish I had. This response shows David can hold paradox, being bothered by something while recognizing his own relationship to it. Jung wrote, "The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed." If you've learned to see your judgments as information about yourself rather than absolute truths about others, comment, "My projections became my teachers." This shift in perspective is life-changing. The most profound aspect of Jung's framework is what I call the mirror effect. The inevitable realization that everyone you're analyzing is reflecting aspects of your own psyche back to you. Jung wrote, Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Every person becomes a teacher. Every interaction becomes a classroom. Every judgment becomes a doorway to self-discovery. The people who trigger your strongest reactions are always showing you your own shadow material. The character traits you most admire in others often represent your own undeveloped potential. And the patterns you recognize in others become visible in yourself once you know what to look for. If this mirror effect is resonating with you, hit that like button. It tells me you're ready to dive deeper into consciousness work. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. We're just getting started on this journey. As you embody Jung's insights, something remarkable happens. Your awareness creates ripples that affect everyone around you. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." When you stop participating in unconscious patterns, when you don't take the bait of others' projections, or react defensively to persona breakdowns, you create space for entirely new kinds of interaction. Your authentic presence speaks louder than any words. Some people will resist this shift, escalating their projections to pull you back into familiar dynamics. But others will be drawn to your consciousness like flowers toward sunlight, sensing the possibility of more genuine connection. Have you noticed how your own growth and self-awareness has changed the dynamics in your relationships? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Your experiences might inspire someone else's breakthrough. Now that you understand Jung's character assessment framework, let's explore how to apply it in real-world situations. But first, a crucial warning. Jung wrote, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power. And where the will to power is paramount, love is lacking." Use these insights to understand and connect, not to manipulate or control. Character assessment should serve compassion, not domination. Here's how to apply shadow mapping in different contexts. In romantic relationships, listen to how your partner talks about their exes, their coworkers, or people they dislike. Are they consistently bothered by selfish people? This might reveal their own struggle with healthy self-advocacy. Do they criticize needy people? They might be denying their own need for connection. But use this information to understand and support them, not to attack them. If you notice your partner projecting, you might say, "It sounds like that person's neediness really bothers you. Do you ever feel like you can't express your own needs?" This creates space for deeper intimacy. In professional settings, observe how colleagues handle feedback, criticism, or challenges to their ideas. Do they become defensive, deflect blame, or attack the messenger? Or do they pause, consider, and respond thoughtfully? This reveals their capacity for growth, collaboration, and leadership under pressure. Jung wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." Understanding someone's character patterns helps you communicate in ways that fit their psychological structure. For parenting, these insights are invaluable. When your teenager complains that their friends are fake or attention-seeking, help them explore what this reveals about their own struggles with authenticity and social belonging. This builds self-awareness instead of judgment. But remember, character assessment is a two-way mirror. Jung wrote, "Everyone you meet knows something you don't know but need to know. Learn from them." Every judgment you make, every reaction you have to someone else's behavior, reveals something about your own psychological patterns. Here's a practical exercise for the next week. Keep a shadow journal. When someone irritates you, write down exactly what bothers you about them. Then ask yourself, where might this trait exist in me? What am I afraid of about this quality? Don't judge yourself for what you find. Jung wrote, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." Self-acceptance isn't self-indulgence. It's the foundation of psychological health. Also, practice the integration test on yourself. When someone gives you feedback that triggers defensiveness, Pause before responding. Ask yourself, what if there's truth in this? What might I learn about myself? Jung understood that character development isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming conscious. The goal isn't to eliminate your shadow, but to work with it consciously, rather than being controlled by it unconsciously. Before we go deeper, we must address the shadow side of character assessment itself. Jung wrote, "The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. The ability to read character can become its own form of psychological torture if misused." I've seen people use Jung's insights to become what I call shadow hunters, individuals who use psychological knowledge to attack others' vulnerabilities rather than understand them. This represents a complete perversion of Jung's work. Jung warned about this danger. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. Sometimes, people become obsessed with analyzing others precisely to avoid looking at themselves. Here are the warning signs that you're misusing character assessment. You feel superior when you figure someone out. This superiority complex indicates you're using psychological insight to inflate your ego rather than build understanding. You use your observations to manipulate others. If you're leveraging someone's shadow patterns or persona weaknesses to control them, you've become what Jung would call psychologically poisonous. You become judgmental rather than curious. True character assessment should increase your compassion, not your criticism. If you find yourself becoming more judgmental, you're projecting your own shadow. You avoid examining your own patterns. If you're constantly analyzing others but never turning the same scrutiny inward, you're using psychology as a defense against self-awareness. Jung wrote, "The greatest danger is that one may get stuck in the unconscious and never come back to reality." Sometimes people get so fascinated by psychological analysis that they lose touch with simple human connection. The antidote to these dangers is what Jung called ethical relationship to the unconscious. This means using psychological insight to serve love, understanding, and growth, not power, control, or superiority. Remember that everyone you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. Jung wrote, "In order to know the light, we must first experience the darkness." Their shadow projections and persona defenses often represent their attempts to cope with pain, trauma, or fear. True character assessment should make you more humble, not more arrogant. When you see someone's psychological patterns clearly, you're seeing their humanity, their struggles, their defenses, their attempts to navigate a complex world with limited tools. Jung understood that we're all wounded healers, all carrying shadow material, all wearing personas to protect our vulnerable core. The goal isn't to expose others' masks, but to create safety for authentic connection. Use these insights to build bridges, not walls. Let character understanding lead to compassion, not condemnation. The ultimate purpose of reading others' character is to awaken to your own. Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." This mirror effect operates on multiple levels. First, the people who trigger your strongest reactions are always showing you your own shadow material. If you're consistently bothered by arrogant people, examine your relationship with confidence and humility. If needy people drain you, explore your own needs and how you express them. Second, the character traits you most admire in others often represent your own undeveloped potential. Jung called this positive projection, casting your own unlived possibilities onto others. When you put someone on a pedestal for being so creative or so confident, you might be projecting qualities you possess but haven't claimed. Third, the patterns you recognize in others become visible in yourself once you know what to look for. If you become skilled at spotting others' persona breakdowns, you'll start noticing your own. If you can see others' shadow projections, you'll begin catching your own in real time. This mirror effect creates a feedback loop of self-awareness. Every person becomes a teacher. Every interaction becomes a classroom. Every judgment becomes a door to self-discovery. Let me share how this played out in my own understanding. I once worked with someone whose constant need for validation irritated me intensely. I judged them as insecure and attention-seeking. But Jung's framework forced me to examine why their behavior triggered me so strongly. The uncomfortable truth was that I had my own relationship with validation that I wasn't acknowledging. I had developed subtle ways of seeking approval that I convinced myself were different from their obvious methods. My judgment was actually self-rejection. I was criticizing in them what I couldn't accept in myself. Jung wrote, "We are not what happened to us. We are what we wish to become." The mirror effect shows us not just what we've been, but what we're capable of becoming. I couldn't accept in myself. Jung wrote, "We are not what happened to us. We are what we wish to become." The mirror effect shows us not just what we've been, but what we're capable of becoming. Every character trait you can recognize in others exists as potential within yourself. This doesn't mean everyone will develop every trait. Jung believed in individual differences and unique psychological types. But it means that understanding others' psychological patterns gives you a map of human possibility, including your own unexplored territories. As you develop skill with Jung's character assessment framework, you begin to embody what he called the conscious individual, someone who sees clearly without judgment, understands deeply without manipulation, and connects authentically without losing themselves. Jung wrote, "Individuality is the opposite of being a member of a group, an institution, a race, or a nation. The conscious individual thinks independently, feels authentically, and relates genuinely rather than conforming to collective patterns." This consciousness has several distinguishing characteristics. You see people's shadow projections with compassion rather than superiority. You understand that their judgments reveal their struggles, not their moral failures. This allows you to respond to the pain beneath their projections rather than react to the projections themselves. You notice persona breakdowns without taking them personally. When someone becomes defensive or attacks under pressure, you recognize their protective mechanisms rather than their authentic intentions. This prevents you from being drawn into unconscious drama. You can hold paradox. Jung wrote, "The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. You understand that people can be both kind and cruel, strong and vulnerable, authentic and defended, often simultaneously. You use character insights to build connection rather than create distance. When you see someone's psychological patterns clearly, you feel more empathy for their human struggles, not less. Most importantly, you apply the same compassionate analysis to yourself." Jung wrote, "The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. You see your own shadow projections and persona defenses as information, not indictments." The ultimate goal of understanding Jung's character assessment framework isn't to become a master analyzer of human nature. It's to become more fully human yourself. Jung wrote, "Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. As you practice observing shadow projections and persona breakdowns in others, you inevitably become aware of these same patterns in yourself. This awareness creates choice. You can respond consciously rather than react unconsciously. Integration happens gradually through small moments of catching yourself projecting, noticing your persona defenses, and choosing authentic response over automatic reaction." Jung wrote, "We don't really heal anything. We simply let it go. Letting go of unconscious patterns allows your authentic character to emerge." This process isn't comfortable. Jung warned, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Seeing your own psychological patterns clearly means confronting aspects of yourself you've avoided. But this discomfort is productive pain. It leads to growth rather than stagnation. Jung's legacy wasn't his specific techniques or theories, it was his invitation to consciousness. The two reveals he identified aren't just tools for reading others. They're mirrors reflecting your own journey toward authenticity. Jung wrote, "To be normal is the ultimate aim of the unsuccessful, but you're not here to be normal. You're here to be conscious, to see clearly, understand deeply, and connect authentically with the humans around you. Every time you catch yourself judging someone harshly, you have an opportunity to explore your own shadow. Every time you notice someone's mask slipping under pressure, you can examine your own defensive patterns. Every time you resist using psychological insight as a weapon, you choose consciousness over unconsciousness. The ultimate character you're developing isn't someone else's, it's your own. Your willingness to face your shadow, drop your masks, and respond consciously rather than react unconsciously creates ripples extending far beyond your individual life. You become what Jung called a culture creator, someone who models new possibilities for human relationship and consciousness. If you're ready to commit to this journey of conscious self-discovery, comment, "I choose conscious growth," below. Let's create a community of people dedicated to authentic transformation. So watch for the projections, notice the persona breakdowns, but most importantly, turn that same clear seeing toward yourself. Because the journey toward authentic selfhood isn't just the most important work you can do for yourself, it's your contribution to the evolution of human consciousness itself. Before you go, if this content is helping you see yourself and others more clearly, make sure to check out my video on the dark psychology of emotional vampires, where we dive even deeper into Jung's insights about toxic relationship patterns and how to protect your psychological energy. The link is in the description below. Your journey toward consciousness starts with seeing clearly, and it ends with becoming who you truly are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next dimension of awareness.